Is it too much to ask for a nice straightforward transfer window for Manchester United? I think it kind of is. And this January looks like it's going to be absolutely no different. In the summer, we chased Frankie de Jong all summer long. Then went after Arnautovic and Rabiot before deciding all of a sudden we had 100 million to spend on Antony and also signing Casemiro. Now in January, we thought that Cody Gakpo was going to be top of our list, but he has now moved to Liverpool after they agreed to pay more upfront than United. But Ten Hag wants a striker. He says Manchester United need a striker in January, and he's right. So what I'm going to do in this video is run through the plans for United's January transfer window, taking a look at different names and options, realistic options, as players who could come in and maybe make a difference to the second half of this season and moving forward. So make sure you please do drop a like on the video and let me know which players you think genuinely we could and should be looking at in this January transfer window. Let's rewind to the start of December when Erik Ten Hag said this about replacing Cristiano Ronaldo. He said, look, we are looking to replace Ronaldo. He goes, yes, but only when we find the right player. We will do everything in our power. We are doing research at every opportunity, and we will do everything we can to side them if the opportunity is there. So that was back in early December, back when Manchester United were out in Spain with a training camp for Cadiz and Real Betis during the World Cup. United have been looking and researching for some time now. Kind of makes the Gakpo situation even more incredible, really. And then this is what Erik Ten Hag said in his embargo press conference after the Burnley game ahead of Nottingham Forest. He said, look, Manchester United will not compromise on signing Ronaldo's replacement. He said this, we are aware we lost a striker, so I think we have to get a striker in, but it has to be the right one. The right one will bring quality to the team and not just add to the squad, because that gives you only problems. You know the criteria is high at Manchester United. So going back to early December, when he says, yes, we will bring one in, but only the right player. He's repeated that statement. And I think, I'll be completely honest, I think Erik Ten Hag looked at Gakpo and thought that he could have been the right player. The only reason we didn't sign Cody Gakpo is because we were not willing to pay enough up front for what PSV wanted. Liverpool were, they swooped. All of a sudden, the deal got signed within 24 hours. That's because they gave PSV what they wanted. Now, Ten Hag has spoken there about, you know, maybe we can get goals from within the squad. Looking at Garnacho, looking at Pedestri, looking at Marcus Rashford for bringing more goals in. But there's no doubt that Man United need to bring someone in. And I think Simon Jones here is absolutely spot on when he says this. Manchester United, I think it's going to be another January transfer window where we look towards the loan market. And that's what this video is all about. It's not just about the loan market. It's about looking at options that are available for effectively cheap. And it's because of how much, well, how bad the finances are at our club. They really are. Probably the worst I've ever seen them. They really are. And now I thought that these sorts of conversations were buried. Were absolutely gone, but I don't think they are. Remember when we signed Igalo? It was odd. It was weird. Now, I know full well that all of you want to be having conversations about Gonzalo Ramos, about Victor Osimhen, about Lautaro Martinez, and in particular, Gonzalo Ramos. But it's not going to happen, right? If we're not willing to pay the 40 million up front, I think it's 37 million guaranteed fee to PSV. That's what they've given up front. And then there's going to be add-ons and bonuses. If we weren't willing to pay that, what makes you think that we're going to be paying what Benfica would want for Gonzalo Ramos? A player they don't want to sell in January. A player who they'd love to have for the remainder of the season and the Champions League with them. A player whose stock has risen after the World Cup. A player who's... He's costing Darwin Núñez numbers, 100 million. I think the same thing goes for Osimhen. And probably the same thing, well, maybe not 100 million for Lautaro Martinez, but way in excess of 50 million. And if we're not going to pay 37 for Gakpo, you can just rule all of those out. And that's why this lad is not the top. This is in no particular order, this list. But João Felix is a player I think that we will be entertaining the idea of. He's not a striker. Absolutely not a striker. He is somebody who plays as like a number 10, a supporting striker, a false 9. You could play him centrally there, but you won't have a presence in the box. He's not a typical Haaland type striker. But he's a player who is available. He's a player who could be available on a loan. And that is kind of the important part of this whole conversation. And you'll spot a pattern in between the other players that I'm going to be speaking about too. João Felix is somebody who clearly has more talent than he's shown at Atletico Madrid. Was never really a good fit there. Showed it at the World Cup, but playing in more of a deeper playmaking role with Portugal. What do you think about the João Felix situation? Because he's available on loan, with a loan fee and maybe an obligation or an option to buy. I think if it's an obligation to buy, I don't know whether we go in for him, considering Atletico Madrid would want like 100 million for him. But it's a possibility, I think, anyway. And I think Dusan Vlahovic, there is an opportunity around him too. And that's something that's one of Ten Hag's buzzwords right here. If we go back here, he talks about opportunities. I think because of Juve's situation, they've sacked the whole board. Financially, they are in absolute dire straits. Opportunity. If Manchester United went in with an offer for Vlahovic with a loan spell, maybe an option to buy in the summer, Juve would have to consider it. And that is called an opportunity. I think so anyway. Certainly from a centre-forward perspective, far more appealing than João Felix. But you let me know what you think about those two. But there are a lot of names that I'm going to run through now. And maybe not all of them that you're going to like. Not maybe. Some of them you definitely won't like. Now, Marcus Thuram is an interesting one. I spoke about him on the live stream, and quite a few people were sort of against the idea of him. A few French supporters who didn't really feel that he did enough at the World Cup. He's not a Ronaldo replacement per se. He's not going to come in and score all the goals that Ronaldo left with. Well, he didn't exactly leave him any goals when he did actually leave. Look, in the Bundesliga this season with Mönchengladbach, he's got 10 goals and 3 assists in 15 appearances. He's having a really good season. And he's more of a typical centre forward. If we take a look at his career stats, let's go down here and show exactly where he's been playing. Let's pull that up for you there. Oh, why is that not working? There we go. He's actually played, I didn't know that. He's played equal amount of games on the left wing as he has played up front. And if you're looking at how he played for France at the World Cup, he did kind of operate out on that left-hand side. But Marcus Thuram because he's available, well, his contract runs out. Manchester United could agree to sign him in January and sign him for free in the summer, or go in with an offer to give Mönchengladbach some money, whereas they'd otherwise lose him for free in the summer. And the same thing goes for Memphis Depay. Now, in my opinion, I don't particularly think that Memphis Depay is a conversation that we should really be having. That's just an opinion. I just don't think he suits what we need. And if we're going to be signing a player like I would rather go for João Felix if we're going to sign a player who I don't think is a centre forward and playing in that role. And this is a name I know. Look, a lot of you are going to gag reflex coming up. Choupo-Moting. Was he 33? 33 now. A man of experience, but somebody, if we're talking about repeating the Igalo type signing, you're going to be looking for someone like Choupo-Moting. I shouldn't be having this conversation about Manchester United signing this player. I shouldn't. It's not disrespectful. It's just the truth. But given that we don't have enough money for Cody Gakpo, it's players like this that I think Ten Hag's going to have to consider. Moussa Dembele is another name I spoke about this morning. I found it weird that I'm having a conversation about Moussa Dembele. I don't think I'm particularly serious about this one. But again, if we're looking at players, if I'm going to have a conversation about Choupo-Moting because he's available, because his contract runs out in the summer, then you have to have a conversation about Moussa Dembele. Even though I don't think either of them are particularly what we need. And again, repeating what Ten Hag said, he doesn't just want a striker in. He doesn't want a body for the sake of it, going down here. It has to be the right one that brings quality to the team. I don't think Choupo-Moting does that. I don't think that Moussa Dembele does that. I don't particularly think that Ben Brereton Diaz does that. But I'm at least intrigued by the idea of signing him. Somebody who would be fine sitting on the... 23 goals, 9 appearances. 23 appearances, 9 goals for Blackburn. He's been a good championship striker. But as we know, we've seen Mitrovic for a long time until this year. Being good in the championship does not mean that you can be good in the Premier League. But again, because his contract runs out, I think it's something that Manchester United will be looking to entertain. And of course, there are other players like Terran Moffi, who plays for Lorient, and he's having a bit of a breakthrough season there. 14 appearances, 10 goals in League. And this is a different type of signing. Somebody who does have who is a prospect, who could and would develop at Manchester United. But again, not somebody who particularly brings that top-level quality. If we're looking at top-level quality that's genuinely realistic as a centre-forward option, I'm not saying it's genuinely realistic. I'm saying there is a genuine opportunity there to at least test the waters. Because of how bad Juve's finances are, we could see whether they would crack. João Felix wouldn't be a centre forward, would be more of a false 9, but maybe that sort of style would suit what Ten Hag wants. I don't particularly think that Martial is a complete pure number 9. I think he does like, I know he does, I watch him. But there aren't that many clear out-and-out options that United could afford. Gonzalo Ramos, we can't afford. Victor Osimhen, we can't afford. Lautaro Martinez, we can't afford. If we couldn't afford to pay the 37 million for, where is it? For Cody Gakpo, we're not going to be paying what is needed to sign any of those three. And if I'm looking at options, I'm probably looking at the two standout are João Felix and Vlahovic. Not in terms of being the pure striker that we need, but in terms of who do I think could come into Manchester United and actually make it a genuine difference between now and the end of the season. I'd look at either of those two. And there'd be question marks around. I mean, Marcus Thuram, I can see why some people would suggest him. I can see why some have concerns. And then the likes of Memphis and Choupo-Moting and Dembele and Brereton Diaz. Just a whole list of bargain bucket strikers that we're looking at because these guys own our club. And until the Glazers leave, wow. We are in a financial cesspit, I would call it right now. We don't have enough money to spend on Gakpo. We're going to be looking at cheaper alternatives and loan deals. That's why Felix is being entertained as an option. That's why Vlahovic could be an option too, depending on whether Juve would actually crack. You let me know what you think in the comments below about Ten Hag's plans, but he wants a striker. He's made it abundantly clear on more than one occasion. He says that Man United need a striker. It's whether or not we can afford to sign what Erik Ten Hag needs.